Welcome to Stillspeakpod. This video is going to be about two individuals who are missing from the Orlando, Florida area. I do not believe at this time that the stories are connected in any way. I saw one last week. I saved it. I didn't get around to making a video about it. And then I saw the second one yesterday, and at that time I decided it would be best to put them both in one video since they're missing from the same city. And at this time, there's nothing showing that either of these men are not in Florida somewhere. But I don't want just Florida people to share it or Central Florida people to share it. I also would like if everybody would share it, because if you don't live in Florida, you may know somebody who does, who's on your news feed or on your social media accounts, who can then share it in their area, and we can spread their names and faces. The first one we're going to talk about is Brian William Bones. He's the one that I saw yesterday was missing. And the story goes that it was Brian's 24th birthday on Sunday. Yes, this past Sunday. And Brian lived with a roommate in Lake Mary, Florida, which appears to be about 20 to 25 minutes away and is down I-4, which is the main highway in Orlando. They started off the day going to downtown Orlando and attending brunch. After brunch, they started to go from bar to bar. As the day progressed, this is what the friends say happened, and you can take from it what you will. You can definitely speculate off of it because it's very vague, but they said that at some point, he seemed abnormal and more than just intoxicated. So clearly they were noticing there was certain behaviors that appeared to be not just of someone who's just drunk. Brian was caught on surveillance camera leaving a bar called Swiggs, SWIGGS. It's located on Central Boulevard in downtown Orlando, and this was about 7:30 p.m. So I did a Google Earth search, and this particular bar that he was last seen at is down the road, literally a block over from the courthouse where the infamous trial of Casey Anthony occurred. It's also around the corner from a place called Church Street, and Church Street appears to be a, couple of blocks of bars and clubs for people in that area to attend. It seems to be a very popular spot for people to go bar hopping. Then about a mile and a half the other way is what's called Lake Eola. There looks to be a playground. It's a very large lake. And in Google Earth images, it appears that people are walking around this lake and having lunch out there. It's very close to the downtown Orlando library as well. So then they said that they woke up the next morning to texts of where's Brian? And they're like, we don't know. And they jumped into action because where the hell was he? They go downtown, they retrace his steps, and they find his car still sitting in the same parking garage where he had left it. They then went to the place he was last known to be, and they got the surveillance footage, and they were able to locate him on that, leaving it at 7:30. The details are very vague, okay, because there's no explanation as to what happened right before Brian left, meaning they say that he was acting abnormal, but then he appears to have left alone. So did they think he was getting a cab or an Uber? It's 2021. Did they think he was going to drive home like that? Did they get separated at some point? We don't really have those details on what happened there. I'm certainly not accusing them of anything. I'm just saying I wish we had more detail on how it went from him being with his roommate and his friends to him leaving alone, appearing to not be acting normal. Now, he's on camera leaving this bar at 7:30 in the evening. It is now dark at that time, right? But it's still relatively early in the day as far as something, nefarious happening. You have this downtown area, a place with all these bars and restaurants, this lake area, and it just seems odd that him leaving at 7:30 at night, he clearly never made it to his car. And where did he go at 7:30 at night? It wasn't like it was 11:30 or midnight or 2 a.m. It was 7:30. His mom did an interview with the news, and she said that she spoke to him about 10 minutes after he left the Swigs. And he sounded really intoxicated to her. He was slurring his words, and he kept saying he didn't know where he was. And so she was like, do you see any landmarks? And he's like, I'm just surrounded by buildings. And so she said to him, well, just give me some type of landmark or location. Your brother's on his way to get you. Before they can get a location from him, his phone went dead. So now the mom, of course, is going to be highly concerned, but probably assumed that he made it home at some point. But by the morning, again, nobody had heard from him. His phone's off. It's been days. It's now Thursday, so Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, into today, his car is still where he left it. I saw some people talking about the story, and somebody asked, is there a lake near this particular area? Which is when I located this Lake Eola, which is a very large lake, but it seems to be a very populated area. And I'm finding it really hard to believe that he would have either accidentally end up in that water or was, thrown in that water at 7:30 at night, because it does appear like that particular area would be populated with a lot of people at that time of the day. But anything's possible because nobody knows where he is. So I did a little bit more research, and I found that this past weekend is something called the Classics, and it looks to be like two colleges who come together, they're rivals, and they have this big, game that happens at a place called Camping World. And in addition to Camping World, where the game takes place, the Amway Center, which is right there in downtown Orlando, which is a place where concerts are held and basketball games and things of the sort, also had events that were connected to this game happening at Camping World. Now, the game is on Saturday, but this event appears to be an all-weekend type of thing. So you would expect to see in that area an influx of people, okay, from out of town. And so, football games, usually go hand in hand with drinking, especially if you're going to go celebrate a victory. And so you can imagine that a lot of the people from this event might travel down to downtown Orlando, which is only about 1.5 to 2 miles from this Camping World, to do that, to go to this popular place called Church Street where all these bars are. So that's something to take into consideration, and it's actually really common when there is football type games, large ones, and events like this, where fights break out, people fall off of parking garages because they've been drinking so much. All sorts of, wild things happen when alcohol is involved, of course. And there's big groups of people, what I'm saying, like the mob type of feeling when you're out and it's very busy, and it's chaotic and crazy, and then you add drinks into the mix, and it's just not good. What's a little strange to me is that you would think that this particular area with all these bars close to the Amway Center, very, very close to the courthouse, the downtown library, and this Lake Eola area with other restaurants, that there would be a significant amount of surveillance footage, and you'd be able to actually track where he walked to, or at least what direction he went to. Now, police may be looking into that. We just don't know about it. That being said, I'm going to read to you what the family has said about the Orlando Police Department. This post I found wasn't even 48 hours after he went missing. It says, "Good morning. As many of you know, Brian William Bone has been missing for the past 32 hours. Currently, the family has been doing everything we possibly can, and we all appreciate everybody's concern and reaching out. This morning, on November 23rd, so this was 2 days ago, when we spoke with the Orlando Police Department, we were told no detectives will be assigned onto the case for another 24 to 48 hours. These first 48 hours are the prime time. Brian Bone is not another case. He is not this type of man to get lost or to be in any type of dangerous activity. We currently are in contact with lawyers of Orlando, the management of the last bar he was seen in Orlando, and most of the news stations. All these allies have been more than helpful in the last 4 hours than the Orlando Police Department. Please share and spread the word. The family is gathering the most information of his last transactions, phone calls, and whereabouts of the last hour that there was activity. We are trying everything, and I hope you can too. This is an extremely hard time for everyone. Please pray for his safety and health. Light your candles for Brian. Thank you." On another post, it says that you can reach out to Nixon Bones, and he has a middle name Andreas. So Nixon, middle name Andres, and last name Bone. This is Brian's brother. And in the post it said, "If anyone was downtown last night and seen or heard anything, please reach out." They're of course referring to Sunday night. Then it says there's word that there was fighting and shooting going on, etc. Family has contacted the police and local hospitals to no avail. The family spent today their Thanksgiving searching for Brian. And at one point, they traveled to Apopka, Florida, which according to Google directions looks to be about 15 to 20 minutes away, to search a little bit because they had reason to believe that his phone might have been out there in that area on Sunday evening. So this leads me to believe that they may have gotten some pings from his cell phone. Brian Bone is, of course, 24 because he was out celebrating his birthday. He is African American, the flyer says, 6 feet 1 inch. He was wearing black Nike shirt, gray sweatpants, and blue Jordans. Any tips are asked to call 321-295-1510 or 352-602-0028. In this video, I'm going to share several pictures of him, and one of them is actually from Sunday, and it has the exact outfit he had been wearing before he went missing. And at the end of the video, I am going to insert 2 news clips of the friends speaking, and then another one of his mother and friends speaking. They are highly concerned about Brian, and I think we all know why. because where could he possibly have gone? And the fact that his mother was on the phone with him and he couldn't even tell her where he was. So clearly he was out of it, and his car has not moved. The next one is Brian also. Middle name is Vladick. Last name is Hazel, or Hasel. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Hasel. He actually goes by Vladek, Vladek. Now, this one is also in the Orlando area, but it's on the side of Orlando close to the University of Central Florida, and looks to be about a 15 to 20 minute drive up another highway called 408. The initial post that I saw on the 17th says, "I'm looking for my brother Brian Vladick, Vladek Hazel. He goes by Vlad or Vladick. He's 22 and has been living in an apartment in Orlando by UCF with my dad. He has not been in touch with family since November 5th, when my dad went out of town with us. My dad got back to an empty apartment and my brother had left his cell phone behind. He didn't have any access to a vehicle. He frequents businesses in the UCF, Waterford, and University Boulevard area. I have already filed a missing persons report and called hospitals in the area. Any info is appreciated." And she has been doing updates, and so has the father. So the next update was later in the day, and it said, "My daughter Bethany and I," this is from the father, "have been taking flyers to restaurants that my son liked to frequent and around the apartment complex here, and I've been blessed to get a couple of leads. The most recent sighting was last Friday here at a basketball court just outside our apartment, and a maintenance guy that knows Vladek spoke to him. The maintenance guy also mentioned that Vladek would frequently go into the woods behind the basketball court. He will keep an eye out for Vlad, and I will take a walk in the woods tomorrow when the daylight comes. Just very unusual that he could be that close to our apartment without sleeping here, to my knowledge, and to not worry about leaving his phone behind. Hopefully I will keep getting better news as the days go on. Thank you for your concern." So then I checked the weather in Orlando area during this time, and it was rather cold considering the location. Not particularly during the day, but at night it was down in the 40s. So it'd be really odd if he was sleeping outside in that type of weather, especially for somebody who lives in that area and wouldn't be used to that type of cold. The next day, it said, "I stopped by the apartment front office. They said they have security camera at the laundry room and the gym. They're going to review it and get back to me. Dad and I got about 30 feet into the woods behind the basketball court of the apartment complex where the maintenance guy said Vladek frequently went into, but we didn't see anything. We called the officer and asked about them doing a search of the woods. She is supposed to call us back. We are posting more flyers today." The next was from the sister again saying, "Text message I got from my dad. I just got a call from the investigator. She said that several deputies are coming to the house to talk to me and see if they're able to get into the woods to find Vlad. If they can't work their way in, they'll decide what other methods to use." 2 hours later, she posted again, "Officers came out. They did a preliminary look at the woods where Vlad was known to frequent. It's not a large area, but it is extremely dense and backs up to a retention pond. The officers were only able to get in as far as Dad and I got yesterday. The officers said that they were going to discuss with their supervisor about resources they can utilize for a more detailed search. They're also going to see if they can get a green light on an agricultural group to search the dense areas. There is much larger wooded area that surrounds the apartment complex and also needs to be thoroughly searched. 3 hours later, the sheriff's office had a helicopter overhead and search dogs were on their way. That evening, another update. I want to start off by saying how grateful I am for the time and effort the officers, detectives, and corporals of Orange County Sheriff's Office is putting in to help us find my brother, and that they were out there for about 12 hours. The helicopter did not see anything or pick anything up with a thermal scan when they flew over the two wooded areas. The search dog did not find anything either, but it was after dark and wet from raining when the K9 unit was here. They're going to see about next steps and searching the woods and see about potentially getting approval for their agricultural team to come out and do a search of the dense area of the woods. They are starting to have their officers post flyers around University Boulevard, Alafaya Trail, the apartment complex, and homeless shelters, etc. They also have given the bulletin to the overnight officers that work the streets. They also said they're going to go up to the Catholic church that Vlad had spent a lot of time at their prayer garden and speak with people there. They've done a search of the apartment and his digital devices. A group of 5 to 7 detectives are out here now going door to door in the apartment complex. They said they will call us this weekend if there are any other updates, but otherwise they would update us on Monday. The next day, the Post says that someone came to the door from the sheriff's office around 12:30 a.m. and said someone from the apartment complex spoke to Vlad on Sunday the 14th, and that Vlad told this guy he was going off the grid. The corporal asked if he had ever talked about going off the grid before, and I said yes, when he talks about living off in the woods. They're going to work on getting a better search together of the woods. And then it goes on, and the next update says we have been asked to not share detailed information so it does not hurt the investigation. And then they talked about going door to door again. The next one was asking if anybody knew of a private investigator in the Orlando area that specializes in missing people. And she said, I don't want to conflict with police work, but once the police exhaust their efforts, my family would like to have a private investigator on deck for the next steps. Then we learn in another update that he was actually adopted, because the update says, feel a bit recharged after being surrounded by my church family this morning. They announced during service that they're starting a ministry to come alongside families who have adopted or fostered, and they felt like that was God showing me his sovereignty. We adopted Irina and Vladek 17 years ago from Russia when Vlad was only 5 years old. And then it goes on to talk about the church and how they put up more flyers. Then yesterday, this was from another sister, and it says, I don't think he's outside. It got so cold last night. If he was out in the woods, he would have reached out to someone yesterday or sought shelter, meaning people would be seeing him or someone would have to be helping him. It has been 10 days since we last seen him, and he's also a bit obsessive about washing his hands and things. I can't imagine him going this long without a shower. He left his pocket knife behind as well, and then it ended with saying, I'm fearful someone took advantage of him or he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Today, Thanksgiving, the Post says, we are still looking for my brother and any information on his disappearance. Please keep spreading the word. We are very concerned about his safety and well-being. She also shared a picture today from Thanksgiving 2004, and it says, "This is the very first Thanksgiving after we adopted Vlad and Irina. Today brings back many memories of Thanksgivings past. I'm missing my rook partner, my companion that would tag along while I worked at the vet hospital and pet sitting, and then afterwards he would brave the craziness of Black Friday shopping with me. I miss you, Vlad, and I pray with everything in me that you are okay. I love you more than you know." Vladek is 5 feet 8 inches and weighs 220 pounds. He has brown hair and blue eyes. He's 22. Again, he frequents restaurants and business on University Boulevard in East Orlando near Alafaya Trail and UCF. Anybody with information is asked to contact Orange County Sheriff's Office Missing Persons Unit at 407-254-7000. Now, there was supposedly a sighting of him on the 12th that we just discussed. However, in cases involving missing people, it's actually really common for people to call in and say that they saw somebody, and they might have thought that they did, but really it wasn't that person. So there's no real confirmation that he was seen, footage, just somebody's eyewitness account of seeing him. And sounds like he would visit a lot of the businesses in the area. And in my household, I'm the one who always runs to the store. So I know the employees at every local store near me. They know me. I know them. They see me and tell me that I need stock in their store because I'm always there. So you kind of form this semi-relationship with these people because you see them so frequently. So it makes me wonder if he formed a relationship with someone and is with them, or like the sister said, possibly he was taken advantage of. It does seem like he did want to live off the grid, but the family just isn't buying that considering the weather. He left his phone, he doesn't have his pocket knife, etc. And he also had no car. Now, I looked to see about buses in the area. Like any city, there is buses, but it's not as frequent as you would see in, let's say, the city area, right? The city part of Orlando. But of course, there's also Uber. And so this is really sad. This picture she posted of them in 2005 after he was adopted is just heartbreaking. So just based on this information, these two stories do not seem to be connected, at least in my opinion at this point. Seems like two totally different circumstances. And at the time of this recording, they are both still missing, and these two families have spent the day without their missing loved one. Brian Bone's family in particular, we know for a fact, based on a news clip, that they were out in downtown Orlando today, spending their Thanksgiving, retracing his steps again. To be completely transparent here, I'm a little concerned about the second story, Vladick, where it mentions the maintenance worker seeing him. And it could be because Mia Marcano, she had recently went missing in Orlando. It was pretty big in national news, and I covered it on this channel. She was 19 years old, and she lived in the general area of Vladick, and she lived at the apartment complex and worked at her apartment complex that she lived at. It was later found that the maintenance worker had an obsession with her, had broken into her apartment, had kidnapped her, killed her, disposed of her, and then ultimately also killed himself before he could even be arrested for her death, or before she was even found. That was just about a month to 6 weeks ago. very, very big story in Orlando at the time. And Orlando's a very big city, and you have Disney, right? And so you have tourism. There's going to be all types of things that happen in a big city for the police department to handle. So they had Mia Marcano recently. They also had arrested Alex Murdaugh, which we've been covering on this channel. That story in Orange County, Florida, before he was extradited back to South Carolina. They also recently arrested the ex-NFL player who assaulted his girlfriend and then fled to Orange County, Florida. They arrested him. His hearing in what just happened in Orange County, Florida, which is Orlando. And now they have these two young people who are missing. Brian Vladick Hazel, he's 22. Brian William Bones, he's 24. So we'll see how it unfolds here. I don't know. I know that Mia Marcano's story, the family was very disappointed in how the Orlando Sheriff's Office handled her case. And I believe a lawsuit's even going to be happening. And so I don't know if the police department has now changed some of their protocols. I'm not quite sure that they are, because when the family spoke out against them, they basically said that there was nothing that they could have done that would have changed what happened to Mia. I'm not quite sure. That's between the family and the Orlando Police Department. But I'm saying this because I hope that they're taking these cases very seriously and working overtime to find these missing loved ones. I think that with Brian Bones, the one who went missing in downtown Orlando, that should be a little bit easier to solve, because I just cannot believe that there is not footage of at least a direction that this young man went. I just find that really hard to believe in a very city-like area. With Vladek in that area, it is by the University of Central Florida, but it's not city-like. It's a little bit more suburbia, really, honestly, that has this college right in the center of it, according to my research and Google Earth. But he lives in an apartment complex. Now, most neighborhoods these days have people who have Ring cameras. You're not likely to see those in an apartment complex, but apartment complexes usually have some type of footage, which she did mention that they have cameras in the laundry room, and I believe she said the gym. But I mean, if he didn't go in there, you're not going to catch him on it. So I don't know how helpful those are going to be. But if he frequent those stores nearby, it's possible that if he is trying to live out in the woods, he's coming out and going back to these businesses to get food or supplies or whatever, and he may get caught on footage. Who knows? But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening to these two people's stories. Please share, even if you don't live in Florida. Like I said earlier in the video, you may have somebody on your social media accounts who does live in Florida, and if they share, it might get to the right person who may spot one of the two individuals. There's only so much the public can do, but the best thing we can do is to share. It's all we can do, really. And until next time, I'll see you soon.
On the search, Danielle. And Luann, friends say that Brian Bones spent Sunday celebrating his birthday. No one has seen him since. A desperate search. Flyers going up in downtown Orlando. Brian Bone has been missing since Sunday night.
He's a very smart person, and it's not normal for him to do any of this. So I feel like it's very, very serious, especially now that it's 48 hours.
Friends say they were celebrating Brian's 24th birthday. They say they started with a brunch, then went to a couple bars.
At this point, Brian seems a little bit abnormal, just a little bit more than, just intoxicated.
The group says Brian's last known location is Swig's. They tell a surveillance video shows him leaving the bar just before 7:30 that night. After that point, he vanishes.
Next thing I know, I'm just waking up to calls of like, hey, where's Brian?
These friends and family members have jumped into action, retracing Brian's steps and trying to get the word out about his disappearance. They say Brian's phone is off and his car is still sitting in the garage where he parked on Sunday.
At this point, it's desperation time. We're doing anything we can at this time.
With each minute that goes by, they're getting more worried about Brian.
We're really concerned for his safety. We really are.
Well, Brian lives in Lake Mary, and his friends say he knows downtown Orlando really well. That's another reason this is so unusual. Orlando police say they are investigating. At this point, they don't believe any foul play is involved. Reporting live in downtown Orlando, I'm Danielle Lama, Fox 30.
The story last night on Fox 35 News at 10. Tonight, Orlando police are taking to social media, asking people to call 911 if they've seen Brian Bone. He was last seen Sunday celebrating his 24th birthday in downtown Orlando.
Tonight, his family flew in from Texas to join the search. Fox 35's Danielle Lama is live tonight. And Danielle, their search has brought them from Apopka and all the way back to downtown Orlando.
That's right. They are here in Orlando now because they want some answers. They're hoping someone will recognize Brian and remember seeing him on Sunday.
This has been very hard and it's very emotional. Not knowing who your child is and if he's okay.
Brian Bone's parents spent the day before Thanksgiving combing the streets, looking for leads as to what happened to their son.
We lately can't sleep, cannot eat, thinking about awesome.
Friends say Brian, who lives in Lake Mary, disappeared while celebrating his 24th birthday Sunday in downtown Orlando. They say the last place he was seen is Swig's, and he's on surveillance walking out of the bar at around 7:30 that night. Inez Favors says she FaceTimed with Brian about 10 minutes after that. She was worried because family members told her he sounded drunk and was slurring his words.
And I said, Brian, where are you? And he was like, I don't know. And I said, well, can you give me a landmark? He said, I don't know. I'm just around business. I don't know where I'm at. He sounded scared, and I know where I am, like he was about to cry. So I said, it's okay. I said, just stand there, and, your brother's coming.
She says that she tried to get a location. His phone went dead. His brother never found him.
He wouldn't have just stayed out here somewhere and not contacted us. So he would have contacted somebody.
His phone now off. His car left in the downtown parking garage. Loved ones are desperate for answers.
And we are praying to God, that he's okay.
Brian's friends tell me they have reason to believe that his phone may have been in Apopka Sunday night. So they were over there doing some searching today as well. As we mentioned, Orlando police also investigating. Coming up at 11, I'll explain why some of Brian's loved ones say they feel like the system is failing loved ones who have missing people.